Let's look on the principles to creating a directional shadow. Right here is example, we have a model which is already isolated from the background. If you don't have it models that isolated, I do recommend for you have mask first ready. It will make much simpler to create directional shadow. So example right here, we have our layer selected. We can click Control or Command and just left click on that layer. You'll notice we have it marching ends right here around our model. So it's outlined and selected our object. Next, all what we need to do, just create a new layer. Let's call it shadow. And we'll need to fill up this with a black color. Okay. So in this case, Alt Backspace, or you can go to Edit Fill, and you can fill up from here with a black color as well. Okay, now we'll take this shadow layer and we'll put it behind the model. Of course, it's invisible because still be cover. But in this case, we're assuming our light source located up front the model and the shadows will cast on the back. They have several techniques now at this point you can apply to distort the shadow. One of them is Edit, Transform. You can use it simple perspective and just drag and kind of positioning this way. Next, you can also use it just Edit, Distort. And this way you have a little bit more flexibility how you can position. We can take this and place slightly down. One thing you notice when we're doing this right by the feet, we start having a problem with this. Personally, what I like more to use when I work with the shadows or with other distortions, I do like using the puppet warp. So what is happening, it's apply this mesh and apply only to the shadows because we selected. And at this point, I can go and I can set pins. You can notice right here, I set pins by the feet where I don't want to modify. And I can take one and position this way. So I can add additional pins to other elements. For example, like right here. And I can cast and position how I want it. Notice right here, why I put pins before by the foot, it's kind of a lock to this way. The reason is why, because shadows is not necessarily cast directly. Sometimes it's have a little bit distortions that applied inside. And of course, you can modify, adjust maybe a little bit more what you think it's look more appropriate for the shadow. Okay, when you're done, press Enter, and you can see now we have this shadow applied. I'm not necessarily even happy maybe with the arm, but if it's a shadow cast this way, maybe readjust. But overall, right here, our feet, much better to lock in. So next what I want to do is just maybe slightly clean up them, because we can reduce our shadows. And also clean up, I always don't like use the eraser tools. You need build the habit, if you have it, to use the masking tools. So in this case, we can come closer. Okay, let's go to switch to the black color, and we want to use it soft brush for this, and we want to use it 10% opacity, so it's make slightly easy to reduce. If it does not reduce as fast as you can, you always can pop up opacity and just paint over just elements that may stick out and you don't want them there. So this way, kind of start attaching a little bit better. So this is where we can use a puppet tool. As example, let's just go ahead. We'll create another mask. Okay, on this case, I just leave it up front. We'll move later on the back, and we can go to Edit, Transform. We can use the Distort just as example. Okay. We can place it right here slightly. And you can see we distort just a little bit harder, sometimes maybe readjust. Positioning. Okay, let's move this on our back. Again, let's add masking. And I'll just go and erase some of these elements so it does not stick out too much. Okay, right here. And you can see we have it a little bit different even looking shadows. So it's again which one you think feel better. And this way it does look a little bit more natural versus when we have it with the Puppet tools, but we can readjust Puppet tools a little bit more. What I like it with Puppet, it's a little bit more distortions can applied. There are also Puppet tools will be very nice tool to create reflections, because in that case distortions won't work. Additional options, you can play around with the transform tools. You can look on all different warp tools, may add you additional flexibility. Here's an example. Let's go ahead with your image transform warp, and you'll notice we'll create the grid, and inside grid you can take these separate points and just try readjust maybe these points by itself, just twist around, kind of placing. So it's a little bit different distortions, more as a grid overlay. And some things, in some cases, think about simplify Puppet with 9 zones that you divide at this point. But overall, this is where you want to create hard drop shadows by selecting model, fill up with a black color, or for example with the color of the background. In this case, if our background was more red color, as example, let's go ahead, select the red color. Okay. And sometimes you actually maybe want to fill up with the shadow lights and switch to the multiply mode. In this case, you will have it properly color casting happen there.